So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Directors meeting of the Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation. Today is Thursday, December the 11th, 2025. My name is Fareed Amin, and I have the pleasure of chairing this committee. I'd like to welcome our Board of Directors, of course, and all of our senior staff, and also those of you who are joining us on YouTube. Welcome to this Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation Board of Directors meeting. This is, of course, our last meeting for 2025. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the board and staff for all of the great work. I think we've accomplished a lot during this year. It has been a challenging year, lots on the go, including obviously one of the issues we will be dealing with today is our TSHC, TSHC relationship agreement. I know that issue has taken up a lot of staff time, and we've also had a lot of work done on our idea strategy and our new cost allocation model, in addition to all of the daily operational challenges faced by staff. So I'm going to take a moment to thank staff for all the great work they've done in 2025, and also to thank our board of directors for the due diligence and guidance they've provided to staff, and also the advice they provided to me as we try to fulfill our mandate and do whatever we can to enhance the living and conditions of the residents who have the privilege of living in our facilities. So we have a full agenda today. There are no deputations. What we have done differently in this meeting, and hopefully in subsequent meetings, is to have some consent agenda items. So item number 24, which is our business continue item. Item number 25, the strategic directions for Q3 2025. And the item 26, which is the tenant human rights complaints report. These items have been fully canvassed at previous committee meetings and are on the agenda for information only, unless a director would like to raise or revisit any particular issue. We will also, as you would know, go in camera for a portion of the meeting, and then we'll return to the public realm to approve any items from the in-camera session. I will now proceed with our land and African ancestral acknowledgements. On the land acknowledgement, Toronto Seniors Housing acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabeg, and Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. Toronto is home to a vast diversity of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis who enrich this city. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by DISH and with One Spoon Wampum Treaty between the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabeg Nations, the Two-Row Wampum Treaty between the Haudenosaunee and the Dutch, as well as Treaty 13 and the Williams treaties involving the Anishinaabeg and the Crown. Toronto Seniors Housing is committed to reconciliation. We honor the land through our communities and programs that reflect and respect its heritage. Our land acknowledgement marks a small but key step in the process of reconciliation and building a positive relationship with Indigenous people. African ancestral acknowledgement. Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation acknowledges the racism and injustices faced by individuals who are brought to this land involuntarily, particularly those affected by the transatlantic slave trade. We acknowledge the experiences of Black people who arrived in Canada seeking a better life following the abolition of slavery by the British in 1834, while also recognizing the structural, systemic, and individual racism that he encountered, which continues to persist today. This racism culminated in the tragic destruction of Africville, which was one of the largest settlements of the Black community in Canada. Toronto Seniors Housing is committed to recognizing all forms of racism, especially anti-Black racism, and is actively working to combat these injustices. We will now proceed to item number 3, which is a new business and approval of the public meeting agenda. Is there any new business or any amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, may I have someone move that the December 11, 2025 board public agenda meeting be approved as presented? I can't see, so you got to move by Brenda.
So moved, Linda.
Seconded by Linda. All in favor? That is approved. We will now proceed to item number 4, which is a declaration of conflict of interest. Does anyone have any conflict of interest? Seeing or hearing none, we will proceed on that basis. If something were to arise during the course of the meeting, please identify it, and we will deal with it during the course of our discussions. I'll now move to item number 5, which is approval of the board public session minutes of October the 30th, 2025. Are there any amendments to those minutes? Seeing and hearing none, may I have someone move that the minutes be signed as correct?
So moved.
Moved by Linda, seconded by Brenda. All in favor? That is approved. With all in favor, be it resolved that the October 30th, 2025 board public session minutes are approved as presented. We will now move to approve the closed board meeting minutes of October the 30th, 2025. Are there any amendments to those minutes? Seeing or hearing none, may I have someone move that those minutes be signed as correct and adopted? Moved by Costa, seconded by Brenda. All in favor? That is approved. With all in favor, be it resolved that the October 30th, 2025 board closed session minutes as presented are approved. We'll now proceed to item number 7, which is the item action item review. Any comments, additions to this list? Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. All right. There are no comments on this. We'll move to item number 8, which is an update from the CEO. Tom, over to you.
Yes, through the board, through the chair to the board, and good afternoon, everybody. And it's a pleasure to have all of you here for our final board meeting of the year. And as one of the first items that I would like to raise with the group, is the events at 6250 Bathurst. And as you know from the detailed communication sent out earlier this week, there were acts of hate and vandalism at 6250 Bathurst. And our immediate priority has been and continues to be the safety and security of the tenants. As we noted, the community safety unit was mobilized instantly to establish a constant on-site presence. They are still there as of now this week, and then we will work with the CSU about their presence at the building. And also, we continue to collaborate closely with the Toronto Police Services as they investigate the incident and they review the security footage. Also, just wanting to recognize and just really confirm the Jewish Russian Community Center of Ontario. They were present and they were very successful in working with the tenants. They were very upset, needless to say, but worked very well with them that day, to help to restore things as they needed to be, and really, I think, help to begin kind of the recovery from the incident. There was staff there present on the Monday from across Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation. We heard from the tenants some of their concerns, and we were able to respond to one, such as the question around cameras and where they are in the building, where they would like to see more. And in fact, a safety audit had been done previous to this incident, and it was recognized for more cameras in the halls. So that will be a priority for us to move forward that work with TSHC. So once again, a horrific event, and we will be there to support the tenants. Next, our Union Local 79 and the agreement. Very pleased to report that this is a major organizational milestone, as was the the agreement with 416, because so this was our first as a new organization with both of these unions, and it represents really a successful first collective bargaining process with Local 79. And as you know, the tentative agreement will be shared with the board later in this meeting. Also, with our long service awards, just thanking each of those board members who attended, the staff who were present to support it, the recipients who arrived, and that recognition. It just really felt very genuine from everybody, for everybody who was there. And there was 2 staff, I just reminded, who had 45 years of service. So it was pretty spectacular. Also, just to let the board know that our tenant survey is out. It has been out for the last couple of weeks, and we have been right now seeing response rates similar to the last time that we had done the survey, and it is due to close in mid-January. And just for my update for this month, for this time, just some, as we approach the end of 2025, just some reflections over this past year and the work that was achieved, and just a bit about what we need to continue to work on. And our mandate, as it indicates, is tenants and support for them to age in their home. And that the work that we have done around really trying to minimize isolation within our buildings, build more vibrant community. I think we can see a lot of the results through the significant enhanced use of the community activity fund, the number of programs and services that are happening in the building. So that all speaks to that. On a staffing perspective, you've heard, and we'll hear more around the IDEA committee, but it's just one small work that not small, a significant element of work, but also the other areas that within the education, senior specific education that we're providing, really all wanting to help to build up our staff. And you'll see, and from our, whether it's committee meetings and our board meetings, really the operational strengths in the organization continue as it relates to rental of units, and our arrears continuing to come down. Just at the end of the year, kind of the operations team hitting out of the park with the annual unit inspections. They just under 14,000 were done. Over 2,000 work orders were issued, of which 90% are complete. So that was a lot of momentum right at the end of the year. I do, though, I just want to say that as reflecting on this past year, we do, and moving forward into 2026, it's areas like pest management and our pest management plan that went to quality tenant engagement. And you'll see today that plan will be a focus to continue to improve for our buildings. Safety and security, there is still work. There's work to be done. That is, as we all know, a key concern of our tenants. And we just wanting to even improve more on those services, partnerships, programming. That will be a focus, and also an area we've done just incredible work around the cost allocation, and you'll see with the agreement and with our budget. But in 2026, we want to move to a place where we have a balanced budget move into the year, and not a deficit where there has to be one-time support from the city or the moving our surplus forward. So I think that is an area for improvement as we move into 2026, but not to detract from the work that was done in 2025. Our work right with the strategic, our directions 80% complete. We're now moving into the next iteration of our strategic direction. So really pleased to see that. And around the business continuity plan, our enterprise risk management framework, that was nice to land that in 2025. And then just once again, reflecting the attendance and the leadership that we have seen at STAC with the renewed STAC and at the regional meetings, this really seeing, I think, within our buildings, this more prominence of many individuals taking on leadership roles to engage these communities. So really, really good to see. I just with my reflections, just wanting to personally recognize the extraordinary efforts of the entire Toronto Seniors Housing staff. They have to be agile, they are empathetic, very dedicated individuals, and it is that commitment that allows us to continue to be a success and evolve as an organization. And great deal of gratitude to this board and the support, the leadership, stewardship that you provide to Toronto Seniors Housing. Thank you very much. And just wishing you all the best for I'll take this time to wish you all the best for the holiday season and into 2026. Thanks.
Thanks, Tom. I just want to recognize that Just has joined us as well as Councillor Crisanti. So welcome. Good to see both of you. Are there any questions for Tom? Go ahead, Brenda. Anyone else has any question while Brenda is sorting out the technical issues?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you about that. Tom, just a couple quick questions on the Bathurst Street 6250 incidents. Are we any closer to knowing what happened? How someone or some people managed to pry off all those mezuzahs? I mean, is there any update on that?
Through the chair to the board, and I'll just ask Brad, have you heard? I have not heard anything more on specifically on the police investigation, but Brad, I don't know whether you have or not.
Yes, and Brenda, sorry, but just because it's an ongoing police investigation, we're not going to have many details until it's concluded.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Thanks, Brad.
And the CSU role, I know they've been present, but are we projecting that they'll be there for a certain period of time, or what will be the expectation of their role?
Through the chair to the board, Brenda, I can't say specifically at that point in time, right? So they had committed to the week, and then we will kind of re-engage with them and also get the pulse from the tenants as well. That'll be important to reach back to them. And I think also the just to get as well from the Jewish religious leaders, they will have a sense of that of those concerns. So we will monitor that, but I can't be definitive at this point. Thanks.
Okay. And the last point is just in terms of anti-Semitism. Is that included in any? Explicitly included in our DEI policies or anti-racism, anti-bias policies. Increasingly, anti-Semitism has been excluded and not included. And I'm just wondering if we explicitly listed in terms of our things that we're trying to address with anti-bias, anti-racism training.
Grant, or
I don't know if that's Carol who can answer that.
Grant, I don't know specifically.
Hi, thank you through the chair and to the committee. Yes, Brenda, we're still reviewing, our programs and projects for this year, but yes, this will be included.
Is it included now? Explicit mention of anti-Semitism, in terms of the list of things that we talk about that's included under our diversity efforts and equity efforts.
It's not expressly stated, but not all areas of IDR are expressly stated.
Yeah, I understand.
In our policies, but yes, it will be covered.
By an explicit reference to it, or just by subsumed under general language?
Not assumed under general language necessarily, but the committee is currently reviewing projects, programs, review for next year. So yes, we can expressly state and work through, but it's not expressly stated right now.
Okay, then that's an oversight. Then I would, if you could report back at some point in your work and your activity, I'd appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Any further questions? All right, if not, we'll move on to item number 9, which is the 2026 proposed budget. This item is for approval. We'll let Vince go through the budget, and then we'll have any questions addressed, and then we'll probably move to a motion. So, Vince, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through the board members. I'll have Tom start the presentation, and I'll follow with the numbers and questions at the end. Over to you, Tom.
Great. Thanks, Vince. And is somebody able to put up the, there we go. Right.
Oh, good.
So yeah, great. I was going to say, otherwise we're around page 30 of your package.
Thank you.
And so the board has seen our this presentation that has gone to the city And so I'm not going to go into a lot of great detail, but I do think it's important for approval today to just quickly move over, or move through just some key points. And here in our overview, what we felt it was important, for the city in reviewing our budget is the areas of the deeply affordable housing, really impressing that, to offer deeply affordable housing, continue to maintain deeply affordable housing, supports are required, and particularly for our senior populations with their vulnerabilities, that is really key. Also, we wanted to reflect that Toronto Seniors Housing, through things like our complex tenancy, has taken kind of initiatives to really enhance those supports. But there's also community programming and partnerships and supports for seniors that is required as well to help maintain that deeply affordable housing. The next slide. And this slide really highlights what many of you are aware of: our vision, our mandate, our strategic directions, and our enablers. I just want to really, in this slide, point to the last 2 points that speak to really this ongoing work relating to the integrated service model, right? That's key within our operations, within our mandate, and remaining focused through our budgeting process on how we best maintain that work. And also, as you know, we are reviewing our strategic directions, and as this group from a governance perspective to help lead Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation. The next slide. And we also just want today, right, to share and to reframe what were the mayor's priorities. This was raised more specifically earlier in the budget process, and they were, as you will read there, these 4 key areas. And then if we just move to the next slide, because there's more detail in each one of these, it's routine our focus on our tenants and these areas of importance, and certainly maintaining fiscal sustainability. And really key for this year was the MMP cost allocation work, right? And then as we work forward, Toronto Seniors Housing, Toronto Community Housing, having the separate budgets, so that from an autonomy perspective, as we work around a financial sustainability, and mentioned earlier that we want to move to that position where we have the balanced budget. Next slide. I'll just the finding efficiencies and savings. This for Toronto Seniors Housing is, as we have said before, there was at this point still the link, and there will be with Toronto Community Housing around in the budgeting process with the services that they provide to us. There is a proportion, right, that we pay, and then subsequently the budget with expenses are affected by that. And when we looked at those efficiencies through some of the changes in the TSHC operations that resulted in savings to us, there was some that we identified around our procurement opportunities, some reduction in office spaces. But I just once again want to kind of impress with the board that beyond the majority, right, the vast majority of our expenses are staffing for this organization. And at this point, as we've shared with the city, if for more to be removed from our budget, then it directly affects staff and it directly affects service. We have, it was back in 2023, 2024, have prepared, what we would see, what would be, further reductions if required, but then that starts to relate to staffing. And so really, for our efficiencies, it relates to what we've highlighted around some of our expenses, and then the proportion of expenses with TSHC. Next slide. And our budget priorities, as we shared with the city, I have spoken to many of these, aligning what we've heard from tenants. I think that's important. We did have the consultation sessions with our tenants and with STAC, and these were areas that we have identified. We now have the outcome of our collective bargaining agreements that were worked into our into next year's budget. There's also inflation, and then also at this point in time, as we had previously made the board aware, we do have the deferred corporate positions. The 4 are currently in the budget right now. So I guess we can say we remain optimistic about that. But as also previously shared, 2 community service coordinator positions, they have been removed from the budget, the 2026 budget. And I think the next slide will be over to Vince. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tom. And
I
for
do
this
have
section,
I do have a question for Tom.
Sorry, Josh, can we hold the questions until we go through the numbers, and then we'll come back to the questions? Is that okay?
It's regarding the mayor's priorities, which I don't believe are part of the
Okay, go
budget.
ahead. Okay, go ahead.
So to the chair and the board, TSHC has a mandate for integrated service model, and I don't see that listed in the mayor's priorities. I believe that there can be budget reductions by developing the integrated service model across all organizations that are affiliated with the Toronto City Corporation. This includes healthcare. It includes everything in terms of the integrated service model. And I believe I've mentioned this before, Tom. I don't know how to bring this forward to become a priority for the mayor.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. Don?
Sorry. Do you want looking for a response then from me on this?
You could, if not.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, to the chair, to the board, and Jess, these are the mayor's priorities, right? And so this comes out to us, kind of in a letter. Similar, the divisions and agencies and corporations receive this. This is what we are working for. So I think to your point, as we've talked about, just around the integrated service model and that priority, it's not only through this budget process, but we need to continue to really advocate with the city around, what are the opportunities for not only our tenants but also the system as well, a bit more efficiency, I think, and effectiveness around how we better integrate.
Yeah, thanks. I think Josh makes a great point, and I think as part of our budget cycle as well, it's probably something that we should be thinking about. Now it's not in the fact it may not be part of the priorities given to us, but it's always helpful to be able to identify from within what efficiencies could be achieved by looking at a more collaborative, integrated way to deliver certain services. And we'll probably get into a bit of this discussion, Tom, when we talk a bit about the agreement that's coming forward as well, because I think some of that kind of reflects some of the considerations that just put on the table. But thank you. Vince, go ahead.
great. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the board. So the 2026 operating budget, as you can see in front of you, included a number of sections in there, but we start off with the revenue piece of it. And right now, again, just before we start, the budget consultation started in June of 2025 and included discussions with staff, tenants, senior tenant advisory committee, STAC, TSHC, and the city, along with TSHC, AFRC, and the board members. As Tom mentioned or included in the earlier presentation as well, maintaining existing services was one of the key aspects of it. Also, looking at some key cost drivers for inflation as another factor, but also looking at the salary as collective agreements, and of course, supporting the strategic directions and adding additional support in day-to-day operations for resources. Those were all included and mandated in this particular budget here for the 2026. As you can see at the very top of the list there, in terms of the overall revenue, as you can expect to see, there was an increase of 7.5% versus the 2025 budget, or a 1.6% increase from a 2026 forecast. This is due to better than expected 2026 forecast, where our income and pension adjustments were in line, and saw no downward issues there. But also we had low vacancy rate and faster turnover of our rental units as well. Along with that as well, other revenue included bad debts, parking, laundry, cable, and other miscellaneous other revenue. This is really mainly due to the improved collection process and follow-up with tenants, resulting in a better improvement in this area here. And then, of course, that's representing about a 6.5% increase overall on the other revenue. On the city subsidy piece of it, it was pretty much flat, just a slight downward slightly of about 108,000 just due to a new and enhanced position at TSHC that was not funded, but overall this subsidy from the city remained constant there. With respect to the expenditures for 2026, included improvements in utilities from the 2025 budget. As you can see there's about a 4.3% due to lowering of the federal carbon tax there. So that is already included in that as savings there. And it comes out to quite substantial, almost $1 million from 2025's budget. Along with that as well, there's also the mortgage principal and interest as well, which saw a increase of about 2.8% for 2025 budget. And then in terms of the other allocated operating costs, we made further investments in the community safety unit, the facility management, also the call center as well, and insurance. Of course, we had to include that additional amount there, but also services delivery agreement or the back office expenses as well, all culminated in approximately about 6.3% increase versus the 2025's budget. For TSHC, the total expenses is going to be about $50.895 million, or an increase of 6.5%. As I mentioned earlier, for this includes the salary and wage increase, the deferred positions that we've spoke about, but of course, also along with that as well, continue with the tenant activities fund or community activities fund, sorry, CAF, various projects to support the strategic directions, inflationary impact, and of course, additional insurance component as it relates to the directors and officers insurance as well. In terms of where we are going to be looking at, we're looking at a deficit of about $2.334 million. We are expected to fund the 2.334 deficit position from the 2025 surplus position, as you can see at the bottom there, which nets out to about a zero impact for 2026 operating budget. In 2026, some of the key things we'll be going through, we will be working with TSHC to go through the in-year adjustments with MNP, and more of information to come on that. But certainly that will be one of the key items that we'll be continuing to work with that. But also, if you look at the next slide, which included, in this case here, the completions of the 2026 budget notes, and that will be hopefully completing between now and early January, probably before the break, I would presume to be the case, but that is expected there. But then between January 14th to 16th, City Budget Committee will do the formal review process there at City Hall, and ultimately February the 10th, City Council will approve the 2026 budget, and those are the steps there. So I'll take any questions right now, if you have any.
Okay, thank you, Vince. Are there any questions? I've got one, but I'll defer to committee members before I ask my question.
Brenda here.
Go ahead, Brenda.
Just a quick question, Vince. So going forward, with all our agreements with TSHC, is it now assumed we won't be having these swings of surpluses and deficits? We'll have a more even rationalized budget that won't result in these wide variables.
Through the board chair and to the board members, yes, that is expected. But in the budget that you saw in front of you, this is still before the MNP adjustment.
Yeah.
So next year in 2026, we will make that adjustment once that adjustment is in place, and ultimately in 2027's budget, that will have a new set of cost allocation model, and we would anticipate to have a less of a swing in terms of that moving forward. But for this particular one here, the city has instructed us to proceed with the sort of pre-MNP work.
Okay. So the cost allocation process that we've been engaged in won't yet be applying to the 2026 budget.
That's correct. In the in-year adjustment. So we will do that process within the in-year
Within the
adjustments.
year. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brenda. And Vince, I suspect, given what we know about the MNP exercise, that the adjustment should be positive for TSHC. Is that correct?
Yes, through the chair, that's correct.
Is there any anticipation of how much that would be and perhaps how that money would be allocated?
So presently, right now, through the chair, and there's about a $4.7 million impact, approximately, with respect to the subsidy subsidy flow. This $4.7 million included, in this case here, lowering of expenses. And again, as you recall, within the MMP work, the admin fees reduced is now taken away as well. So that is also has a big component of it. But that would come into favor. The end effect, of course, would be that TSHC will get less subsidy, TSHC will get more subsidy. The two organizations as a whole is expected to be made as a whole. We do anticipate there will be further adjustments in terms of from that amount due to the percentage changes for each of the services through the MNP work. We will work through that. Approximately right now, there's about $1.2 million adjustment that goes into effect as well. So overall, there's about a $5.9 million approximately that we anticipate to be changes. However, these are further conversations and adjustment will be made within the in-year. And once we have more information for the board to also review further as well.
Yeah, I would recommend that, once we've identified what that amount is, that we come back to the board with some proposals on how that money would be spent and so how the money would be spent.
Fareed?
Yes.
Just through the chair to the board, though, I think it needs to be clear, though, overall, through this exercise, the cost allocation, essentially both organizations remain whole.
Yeah.
So although our expenses, right? So there is, at the end of the day, there is a kind of a small kind of net gain or deficit, but it's not significant. But whatever it is, for sure, we will bring that back to the board and make sure that's very clear. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's important because, if we're going to actualize the MNP agreement, I think the board need to be up to date on what those adjustments are and then how we're treating and manifesting those adjustments in the way we operationalize some of our expenditures. So I think we'll do that. Are there any other questions for Tom or for Vince on the 2026 budget? And this has been a sort of, not unlike previous years, a tough budget, and Councillor Crisanti can attest to this. And I think the heavy lifting still needs to be done at City Hall. And I think, we're keeping our fingers crossed and hopefully we'll get the budget as we propose. But these are difficult times and challenging times. And I guess we'll do whatever we can to contribute to the mayor's objectives and also to enhance efficiencies and ensure that the City of Toronto as a whole achieves a balanced budget. But I want to thank staff and thank the board for the support that has resulted in where we are today. And hopefully, as I mentioned, we'll get the allocation that we are requesting. Are there any other questions, any other comments before we bring this to a vote? Okay. If not, I'm looking for approval for this item. So may I ask someone to move that the Board of Directors adopt the following resolution. Number 1, approve the 2026 TSHC operating budget as outlined in this report and attachment. Item number 2, authorize the appropriate staff to take the necessary action to give effect to the above recommendations. May I have a mover, please? Moved by Russ, moved by Jess, seconded by Brenda. All in favor? That is approved. With all in favor, be it resolved that the board approve 2026 proposed budget as presented. We'll now move to item number 10, and I'll ask our chair of our Audit, Finance and Risk Committee to provide his report. Lawrence, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the last meeting of the Audit, Finance and Risk Committee held on November 26th, we focused on update on the proposed 2026 budget, which has been brought forward today. Investment policy will be brought forward after my update. October year-to-date 2025 financial results also being brought forward today, and the business continuity plan update. As we close out the year, I would like to acknowledge the work the Audit, Finance and Risk Committee has accomplished in 2025, highlighting 2025 TSHC budget, fraud prevention policy, whistleblower policy, 2024 audit report and presentation, procurement report and change orders, as mentioned earlier, 2026 proposed budget, cost allocation model, recommendation to the City of Toronto, TSHC's auditor for 2025, enterprise risk management framework and reporting, and the business continuity plan. I'd like to thank the committee members, board, and the staff for all their hard work and dedication throughout the year and look forward to the work planned in 2026. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks a lot, Lawrence. I want to thank you as well for your stewardship and your due diligence. I think our deliberations at the board level have been guided by your support and your expertise. So I want to acknowledge and thank you for your leadership of the committee as well, and thank the staff and committee members to echo some of the sentiments you expressed. So we'll, with that, we'll move to item number 10, which is the investment policy. And again, I will be seeking an approval of this item. But prior to that, Vince, over to you for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the board members. The investment policy was in place at the start of TSHC in 2022. It is up for review. The recommended changes include updating the position titles, change to the new process to 3 years, new policy format, and also other minor edits as well. Please see attached track changes for the full information. After the AFRC on November 26, the committee advised staff to review the investment policy with the city and consider pooling arrangements to maximize on the investment returns. TSHC will advise of any proposed adjustments after the review of the request, and will be bring back to the board and AFRC in 2026.
Yeah, so this is fairly straightforward. The policies are very conservative, as in any public sector organization. We did have a bit of a conversation about this, but I think the guidelines are provided by the shareholder. So if there are no questions for Vince, sorry, Councillor Casanti, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Fareed. I want to understand a little bit more about this investment policy. I'm assuming that speaks specifically to how the any monies we have, I guess, sitting around in the bank that isn't being used for anything else, how it's being invested, and in what area, what capacity to maximize returns, and designating certain people that are responsible for that, managing those investments. Is this correct?
That is correct, Councillor.
Okay. So maybe a question for Vince. How much do we have at any given time available to invest?
Through the chair and to the board members. So currently right now, we've got about $6 million, sorry, $8 million, I apologize for that. So that is expected to be used, and we've got about 3-month window typically to use up the cash. The proposal would mean that some of the investment would be much more shorter terms, potentially, but we're not talking about millions and millions. We would potentially be between $3 to $4 million in terms of excess cash, but also the arrangement that we have with TCHC as well. Some of the surplus in 2025 will go back to them as well. So we anticipate there will be a small amount, but this is probably the first time in a long time as well that we do have this sort of cash. But also that is with the arrangement that we have with TCHC and the city recently, whereby we get the sort of operating surplus based on the TSHC reconciliation. So therefore, that's why we've been able to have that a little bit more of a cash. But to the point earlier as well, it's not a significant amount that we're talking about, but certainly is a small amount that we'll have in a while to be able to start working on this moving forward.
Okay, but Vince, given that the money needs to be fluid and in the nature of our business, investments can only be of a short-term nature.
Correct.
And which unfortunately won't provide us with the highest return when it's very short-term, correct?
Correct. And as to the chair and to the information that we have provided, we're talking about, you know, GICs and T-bonds and treasury bills. So typically for those right now, it offers between about 2.5% to 3% approximately for the money. And again, the amount that we have is just not significant to be able to look at other areas, but those are the sort of the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we can do. And that's the amount that we have currently.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine. That's good. Thank you, Fareed. And thank you, Vince.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Crisanti. And I did raise this issue at the last meeting because I think we probably should have an opportunity to look at an investment policy in a more fulsome way. If our surplus, quote unquote, were to exceed a certain number, because on the liquidity issue, obviously we now have access to a line of credit, so that should sort of help us with any short-term requirement that we might have. But I think if our excess cash were to exceed a certain threshold, we should look at a more robust investment policy to enhance the return that we might have. I know this is not the opportunity to discuss that, but certainly in keeping with the comments I made at the last meeting, I think this is something that we should probably think about without sort of you know, compromising the principle and without being too aggressive. But I think right now, because of the amount we're dealing with, it's probably the right thing to do. But I think if that amount exceeds a certain threshold, we should probably look at a more robust policy that can yield us a better return. All right. So with those
sorry, Fareed, you just triggered something. There was one clarification on the line of credit you mentioned. How much is that line of credit?
I think it's $1 million, isn't it?
Yeah.
$1 million?
Originally, it was going to be 2, wasn't it? 2.5.
Vince, can you verify? I think it's $1 million.
Certainly, yeah. To the chair, the line of credit is up for $1 million. The original amount that we had asked earlier was $2.5 million. But we can discuss that in I think one of the item on the in camera, and we go through that a bit more in depth as well. Thank you.
Fair enough. Yeah.
All right, thanks. That's good. Thanks, Vince. Good discussion. Okay, if there are no other comments, may I have a mover and a seconder for this investment policy item? Moved by Councillor Crisanti, seconded by Costa. All in favor? That is approved. With all in favor, be it resolved that the investment policy as presented is approved. We'll now move to item number 12B, which is the year-to-date October 2025 TSHC financial result. Vince, you're back on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the board members. The year-to-date year-to-date October 31st, 2025 results has TSHC incurred operating result expense of $41,383,778 on a total revenue of $45,776,24 for excess of revenue over expenses of $4.386846 in terms of including amortization expense. The year-to-date surplus there included in this case here a surplus of $6.903 million, $520 from TSHC on the TSHC TSHC reconciliation. Along with that as well, salary and benefit costs were a little bit higher by $502,000 and $782. Other costs there in terms of the savings in this case are for professional services and legal are included in there, along with the service delivery agreement of $325,381. In this effect here is really due to the HST recovery that we have included. As you can see there, total overall, we have a bit of a surplus right now at this point. I've explained it to earlier on the budget component, I will take any questions if there's any questions at this point.
Yeah, thanks again. Any question for Vince?
No.
All right. Okay, so I don't think we need a approval for that. So we'll now move to item number 11, which is our Quality and Tenant Engagement Committee. Ms. Jackson, over to you.
Thank you. To the board. I'm going to give just a report on our last meeting and a little bit on this committee over the last year. So at the last Quality and Tenant Engagement Committee meeting of November 18th, like usual, we had a full agenda highlighting items such as the Community Safety Unit Q3 report, the operational dashboard, the pest management report and work plan, strategic directions Q3 2025 progress report, community programs and partnership update, and a communication update. From that meeting, we don't have any items coming forward at today's board. But as we close the year for this committee, I would like to note the work of this committee over 2025. This includes the rapid rehousing report, the strategic directions 2025 roadmap, community safety unit quarterly reports, our OACH biannual reports, the reason to move out reports, which is a new report that we requested, and it's been very interesting to have. The local housing corporation report, the TSHC follow-up support initiative, known as FUS. As our CEO noted today, our translation and interpretation strategic direction, aging in place presentation, and pest management report and work plan. And I don't even think that covers everything. This work would not be possible without heavy lifting from many of the team at Toronto Seniors Housing. I would actually like to particularly thank Grant, Brad, Deanna, and Tom, who do the heavy lifting for this committee, and also Karen, who I really appreciate all the support that you're providing in the background, including summarizing some of these meetings and putting it together. So I'd like to thank the committee. We welcomed Jess to our committee last meeting, and it was great to have him join us. He had some really good questions, and I think is going to add a lot to this committee. And that's it. We look forward to the new year. Thanks again for all your hard work from the team.
Yeah, thanks, Linda. And thank you for your stewardship of this committee as well. This has indeed been a busy year for this and the other committees, and we do appreciate your leadership and your engagement. And speaking about hardworking chair, we'll now move on to our Corporate Governance and Human Resources Committee, and I'll ask Councillor Crisanti to provide his report.
Thank you, Fareed. Very generous intro there. Thank you. So we had on November 6th, we had a very productive CGHR meeting, and that meeting, focused on people and culture dashboard, tenant human rights complaints report, and the employee code of conduct policy, employee conflict interest policy, which, by the way, are both coming up right after I'm done with this for approval of this board. So stay tuned. So the Toronto Senior Housing Employee Intranet update, we have that as well, and an update on the inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility idea strategy. So and as we close out the year, I just want to take the time to acknowledge, as we should, the accomplishments of the Corporate Governance and Human Resources Committee. We had many significant accomplishments and progress on some truly inspiring work in 2025, including leading a successful collective bargaining, supporting our tenants' engagement through organizing a series of excellent events, making progress on the development and implementation of our IDEA strategy, and updating a handful of our internal policies like our committee terms of reference and employee and workplace policies. So we should all be proud of our efforts. It takes a lot of late nights and dedication to achieve what we did. And I look forward to an even better 2026 as we always do when we, conclude a year and start a new one. So I want to extend many, many thanks to everyone for your thoughtful contributions, time, and leadership. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. And once again, I want to acknowledge the work by all of our committee chairs. I mean, committee is where the heavy lifting gets done. And, Linda and Lawrence and Councillor Crisanti have done a really good job in leading those committees, and also, of course, the staff support. I mean, we see Tom, and we see Grant, and we see Vince, and we see Diana, and we see Carol at these meetings, and Brad. But there's a whole bunch of people behind those individuals that do provide support. So I want to acknowledge and thank them as well. And of course, look forward to the continued engagement of staff as we conclude 2025 and move into 2026. We're not done yet, folks, so don't leave. So I need to move on to an approval for item number 12A, which is the conflict of interest and the employee code of conduct. So I need someone to move and someone to second that motion. Moved by Councillor Crisanti, seconded by Linda. All in favor? That is approved. With all in favor, be it resolved that the employee code of conduct and employee conflict of interest policies are approved as presented. We will now end our public session and move into camera. I'm going to encourage those of you who have joined us virtually to be reminded that we will probably come back out after a closed session and adopt any motion that need to be adopted in the public realm. So once again, thank members of the public for joining us, and we look forward to you rejoining us once we've finished our closed session. So can I have a motion to move into closed session on the section under bylaw 1-2021, section 4.9, subsection 1J, 1K, and 1L?
So
Brenda?
move. So move.
Thank you. Seconded by Just. All in favor? That is approved. I'll give our illustrious Karen an opportunity to close off the public session and bring us on in the camera.